Hi, this is Mrs. Bolin with your notes for section 4.1, is a relation a function? So for the warm-up, first we're going to go over a little reminder of graphing points. Remember that this is the x coordinate, and remember x goes side to side, and this is the y coordinate. They go in alphabetical order, and the y goes up and down. Positive goes to the right or up, depending on if it's x or y. Okay, so for number for letter X, we're going to go -3. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3 to the left in the X direction. And then since Y is +1, from -3, we go up by 1. And that's our point. Question number 2, we're going to plot the point over 1, up 0. So we're right there. Question number 3, we need to find the value of 2x plus 1 when x is equal to 3. So we're going to take this value and we're going to plug it in for x. So I'm going to write that out. Remember that when we have a number times or next to a letter, it means multiply. So 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. And then finally for question number 4 in the warm-up, same thing. We're going to take the value of x equals 5 and we're going to plug that in for the x. So we have -9 minus 3 times 5. So remember that we do our multiplication first before any addition and subtraction. So we have -9 minus 15. Well, when the signs are the same, we add them up. So 9 negatives and 15 negatives makes 24 negatives all together. Or you can think if it's already -9 outside, temperature-wise, and then it goes down by 15 degrees, you're all the way down at -24 degrees. Okay, so for your notes, we are going to be determining whether relations are functions. So a relation just pairs any inputs with outputs. A function is where each input has only one output. So for example, if I plug in a 5 and the first time I plug it in, it came out 10, every single time I plug in a 5, it should come out a 10. That's what a function is. Okay, so a vertical line test is a way to see if a graph represents a function by looking at the graph of it. And if you draw a vertical line, every vertical line that you draw should pass through the function exactly one time. If it passes through twice, not a function, because a vertical line represents each individual input. And then where it crosses through on the graph represents the output for that input. Okay, the independent variable is the input, and it's usually represented by x, and it's the values that make up the domain. The dependent variable is the output, which is usually represented by y, and the values make up the range. So we're going to go over some practice problems here before we start your assignment. So this says determine whether each relation is a function. So this says if I plug in -2, I get out a +2. I plugged in a -1, I plugged in 0, I plugged in 1, I plugged in 2. Anytime we plug in all different numbers, automatically it's going to be a function. Oops. Okay. So it is a function. Question number 2, I plugged in 4, 8, 6, 4 again. So first we need to see, the first time I plugged in 4, I got out 0. So the next time I plug in 4, for it to be a function, it better be 0 again. Well, I plugged in 4. This time, I got out a 3. So that is not a function, because I have the same value and I got 2 different answers. Remember, the first number in an ordered pair is our input. The second number is our output. Okay, and so every time I plug in 4, it better give me a 0. If it doesn't, it's not a function. Okay, question number 3. I plug in a -2, -1. All of the numbers are the same except for these 2 zeros. And the first time I plug in 0, it gives me a 5. The second time I plug in 0, it gives me a 6. So anytime I plug in the same input and get 2 different outputs, that is not a function. Okay, the output can be repeated, but the input cannot be. If it is repeated, it has to have the same output. Okay, so let's look at number 4. I plug in -1, I get out a 4. I plug in 3, I get out 15. I plug in 11, I get out 15. That is fine. It's okay that 3 and 11 both give an output of 15. Totally fine. What would not be fine is if 3 sometimes gave an output of 15 and sometimes gave an output of 4. So this is a function because each input has only one output. It's okay if that output is shared. That's fine. Okay, question 5. Function, not a function. So I'm going to draw vertical lines, and each vertical line represents an input. And each of those inputs has only one output. So as long as there's no vertical line I can draw that goes through twice, this is a function. Okay, looking at this one, that only hits 1 point. Uh-oh, that one hit 2 points. So automatically not a function. I actually could also draw one here that hits twice, so it's doubly not a function. That's not a thing, but yeah, so for sure, this one, not a function. Okay, what about this one? Could I draw a line that passes through twice? If I can, it's not a function because for the input of 1, it could either be 1 or 5. Okay, so that is not a function. Okay, this one over here, each input has only one output. Every vertical line, I pretend like those are vertical lines. They're not quite straight. But each vertical line I draw only passes through the function one time. Okay, so this one is a function. All right, so let's look at your assignment for today. We are just going to go over the odd answers. You are responsible for all of them. So hopefully what you should be doing is pause the video, try a problem, and then hit play, see if you got it right. And then you're going to try the even ones on your own, do your best on those. And then I will give you all of the answers for the odds. But again, you should be trying the problems first. So problem number 1, at this point, you should hit pause on the video. Try problem number 1. Just tell me whether you think it's a relation or a function. Okay, so you're going to start by looking at all the inputs. I plugged in 7, 5, 3, 1, 3. Okay, the only thing that should alarm us is if we plug in the same thing and we want to check to see did we get the same output. If we plugged in 3 and it gave us 2 different outputs, that is not a function because one input, 3, gave us 2 different possibilities, not a function. Okay, question 2, you guys can look at this one. Just think through, does each one of these inputs only have one arrow coming out of it? If so, yes, it's a function. If any of these inputs had 2 different arrows, then it would not be a function. Okay, we're going to look at question 3. Again, try this on your own, hit pause, and then play when you're done. So we're going to be looking at the inputs. I plugged in -3, 0, 3, 6, 9. As long as the inputs are all different, it's going to be a function. So function. It's only when it has 2 of the same input that goes to 2 different outputs. Okay, so let's look at some graphs now. Question number 4, we're going to skip, but just a reminder, you're going to see, is there any vertical line that you can draw that would go through 2 points? If there's even one that goes through 2 points, then that would not be a function, okay? If every vertical line you draw goes through only 1 point, then yes, that is a function. Okay, question number 6. We're going to skip that, but remember, I'm going to skip that. You're going to do the problem. I'm not giving away the answer. You guys try the problem and see, will the vertical lines only pass through 1 point? If so, yes, it's a function. If any vertical line passes through 2 points, no, it's not a function. Okay, question number 7, I will give you the answer to. So we're going to try that, and any vertical line I draw only passes through at 1 time. So yes, this is a function. Question number 8, you're going to do the same thing. Draw vertical lines and see if there's any line that passes through more than 1 time. Question 9, this says identify the independent and dependent variables. The battery power remaining on your iPhone is based on the amount of time you listen to it. Okay, so which one of those influences the other one? Well, however long I listen to it is what I get to decide. That's the independent variable. I don't get to decide how much battery power is left, right? That depends on how much time I listen to it. Okay, so you would say independent is the amount of time you listen to your iPhone. The dependent variable is the battery power remaining. Okay, question number 10. You guys are going to do this one on your own. But just a heads up, it says describe and correct the error in the statement about the relation shown in the table. So this one says the relation is not a function. Well, what do you know? When the inputs are all different, it's automatically going to be a function, right? The only time it's not a function is if one input has two different outputs. Okay, it is totally fine that 1 and 4 both have the same output. Totally fine. The only time it's not a function is if I plug something in and sometimes it tells me one answer and other times it tells me a different answer. Okay. So you guys can describe and correct the error there. And that is it for 4.1.